Do black and tan go together in clothes? I've heard you're not supposed to do black and brown. Black and brown make a frown. That's what my friend told me in middle school. But does tan work? Let me know what you think in the comments if I'm allowed to walk around like this. We're on chapter 38 now, and it's titled Judah and Tamar, or Tamar. I don't know what the I'm going to say Tamar. I'm going to put the emphasis on the first syllable. I don't know who either of them are. Judah, I think, was one of the brothers of Joseph, who we read about in the last chapter, because I confused it with Judas from Jesus, from the disciples. I think Judah's just a brother, and I don't know why we'd be reading about him. I don't know who Tamar is either, so let's find out. Judah and Tamar, it's the title of the chapter for number 38, Judah and Tamar. Why are you relevant? At that time, Judah left his brothers and went down to stay with a man of Adullam named Hirah. I don't know what Adullam is, and I'm not going to try and find out, I guess. There, Judah met the daughter of a Canaanite man named Shua. I guess we're just taking a break from Joseph? Joseph just got down to Egypt after being traded into slavery. Maybe they just want to build up some of the tension. They can't give away the whole story all at once. He married her and made love to her. Oh yeah. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son who was named This is what Harry Potter said. Wow, I said I wasn't going to make any more Harry Potter references because I made a few videos ago. But Harry Potter says this all the time in the series. He goes, and that's what the name of this child is, who was named She conceived again and gave birth to a son and named him Onan. I think I've heard of Onan before. I don't know who that is, but I think I've heard of someone named Onan in this book. She gave birth to still another son. She's still giving birth to sons and named him Shelah. It was at Kezib that she gave birth to him. Where are all of these places? Do I need to consult my map again? I don't think it was in the map. I'll look another time. Judah got a wife for his firstborn. Here you go, son. My gift to you. As my son, as your father, as my firstborn. Here's a wife. And her name was Tamar. Okay, so there's Tamar, but Judah's the dad of her husband. Why would they be the focus of this chapter? But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the Lord's sight. So the Lord put him to death. Yow! Why are you doing that, God? Just because he's wicked? I guess whatever politician you think is a wicked politician must not be as bad as because God hasn't put them to death. I should just say him, because there aren't, well, I guess if you're from the United States, there are female politicians elsewhere. But apparently if someone's wicked enough, God will just put them to death. But only in certain cases. For some reason, he doesn't do it today. Then Judah said to Onan, sleep with your brother's wife and fulfill your duty to her as a brother-in-law. Yeah. To raise up offspring for your brother. So, if you are a brother-in-law somewhere, Judah, I guess this isn't a command from God, but back in this culture, it would have been considered your duty to raise up the child. I guess the women probably didn't have a lot of support if they lost their husband. So it is like a duty to some people to take care of the family. I'm making stuff up. That's my assumption. But Onan knew that the child would not be his. He's right. So whenever he slept with his brother's wife, I know this story. A lot of people know this story. I didn't know it was this early or even in Genesis. I thought this was way later. You know what's coming? Do you know what's coming? But Onan knew that the child would not be his. So whenever he slept with his brother's wife, whenever he did it, he spilled his semen on the ground to keep from providing offspring for his brother. Yep, here we go. This is another one of the common arguments against the ethical nature of God. I've already had this conversation before on the channel, so I'm not going to get deep into it now. But basically, there's some people who think that God can just do whatever because he's God. It's like an authority-based view of ethics versus a more level view where like a certain act is unethical no matter what. And the reason that's relevant is because in the next verse, what he did was wicked in the Lord's sight. So the Lord put him to death also. God deems semen spilling worthy of death. It's not so much the spilled semen that's the problem here. It's the fact that he's not conceiving with his wife. So maybe this is where Catholics get their whole no birth control thing. That is a thing, I'm pretty sure, right? That's what I've been told, that in Catholicism, you're not supposed to use like condoms or pills or anything to regulate childbirth. Yeah, God's cool with killing you if you don't I guess in certain, his plan was to have, like population from Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all the way down. So this is Jacob's son, and I guess God sees that as obscuring division, offspring. But once again, if you were to think of it that way, I mean, God can do anything. He's omnipotent. He's omniscient. He knows everything. He can do everything. Why put someone to death when he could still accomplish his goal by other means? His goal with these little humans that he created in this world that he created, in this universe that he created, why would he not be able to do that by other means? Questions to consider. I'm happy to take a look at any of your answers if you have them, my dear viewer. Judah then said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Live as a widow in your father's household." He's speaking in the third person for some reason. "In your father's household until my son Shelah grows up, because he can knock you up. We're just going to do one son after another. They're all going to sleep with you until you start spitting them out. For he thought he may die too, just like his brothers." So, okay, yeah, I guess that's technically true. So Tamar went to live in her father's household, a father-in-law. After a long time, Judah's wife, the daughter of Shua, died. When Judah had recovered from his grief, he went up to Timnah, to the men who were shearing his sheep. Okay, so Timnah's a place, not a person. I thought he walked up to someone named Timnah. And there's always men shearing sheep in the Bible. It's like all they do. How much sheep shearing do you need? I guess they probably didn't make clothes at a super fast rate. Apparently, clothes are still largely handmade today. You think of that stuff as being automated, but tons of clothing in the world is handmade. And that's where all the ethical issues come from with fast fashion. And his friend, Hirah, the guy from before, the Adullamite, I guess he's from Adullam. It's called Adullam, so he's an Adullamite, went with him. His friend Hirah, the Adullamite, went with him. When Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is on his way to Timnah to shear his sheep," oh, that's why he was going up. It's not just that he was going to visit people who were doing that. He's going there to do that. I guess I didn't have very many forms of entertainment or survival back in the day. When she was told this, she took off her widow's clothes, covered herself with a veil to disguise herself, and then sat down at the entrance of Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. Okay? For she saw that, though Shelah had now grown up, she had not been given to him as his wife. Where is this story going? I feel like this is one of those things where something weird is going to happen. I'm just getting those vibes. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute, for she had covered her face. Yeah, I don't like where this is going. Not realizing that she was his daughter-in-law, he went over to her by the roadside and said, "Come now, let me sleep with you." It sounds to me like the Bible loves prostitution. So far, we've had multiple people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all included, who have had concubines. Kings have had them. This guy's looking for a prostitute to sleep with. God hasn't condemned that so far. And in fact, killed multiple people for this woman not sleeping with and conceiving by multiple men. What are the standards here? "And what will you give me to sleep with you?" she asked. Okay, so Tamar's just going along with it. It's not like, "Hey, I'm your daughter-in-law. And what will you give me to sleep with you?" "I'll send you a young goat from my flock," he said. I bet he will. I bet he's going to reach deep into his flock. "Will you give me something as a pledge until you send it?" she asked. Now she's bargaining with him. What's going on here? Why are these stories not talked about? Why do I keep having to ask that question? There's so many stories. They just conveniently skipped over certain stories in the Bible and didn't have any messages to pull from them, I guess. I never heard this stuff when I was a kid. He said, "What pledge should I give you?" "Your seal, and its cord, and the staff in your hand." Sounds like she was just looking around on Judah and was like, "Your seal, and the cord on the seal, and your staff." "Your seal and its cord and the staff in your hand," she answered. So he gave them to her and slept with her, and she became pregnant by him. So many fathers have slept with their sons' wives, in 2 so far. That's too many. 2 fewer than that would have been the perfect amount. After she left, she took off her veil and put on her widow's clothes again. Now I'm a widow. Meanwhile, Judah sent the young goat by his friend, the Adullamite, so I guess he's just back on his way, in order to get his pledge back from the woman. But he did not find her. So it was like collateral. He was putting up collateral in order to have sex with her. He asked the men who lived there, "Where's the shrine prostitute who was beside the road at Enaim?" "There hasn't been any shrine prostitute here," they said. So we went back to Judah and said, "I didn't find her. Besides, the men who lived there said, 'There hasn't been any shrine prostitute here.'" Then Judah said, "Let her keep what she has, or we will become a laughing stock." Why would that happen? Did you hear that guy got robbed by the prostitute? After all, I did send her this young goat, but you didn't find her. About 3 months later, this is funny. About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar is guilty of prostitution, and as a result, she is now pregnant." So I guess Judah's like, he's like the woman with the math meme, trying to figure out, put the pieces together. Judah said, "Bring her out and have her burned to death." Of course, if you can't beat him, burn him to death. This is the Salem witch trials. As she was being brought out, she sent a message to her father-in-law. "I am pregnant by the man who owns these," she said. And she added, "See if you recognize whose seal and cord and staff these are." Ha ha ha! Right into my trap! Judah recognized them and said, "She is more righteous than I, since I wouldn't give her Since I wouldn't give her to my son Shelah." How does that make her more righteous? Because she didn't get her husband, so she feigned being a prostitute and then slept with Judah? What kind of logic is he using here? And he did not sleep with her again. He was going to burn her to death, but now he's just not going to sleep with her. I mean, it's a bit of a conflict of interest. Well, it's my kid in there. Can't burn her to death now. It's a good thing she didn't already have another kid, because it would have been his brother and his uncle. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. Well, plot twist again. As she was giving birth, one of them put out his hand. So the midwife took a scarlet thread and tied it on his wrist and said, "This one came out first." But when he drew back his hand, his brother came out. And she said, "So this is how you have broken out." And he was named Perez. Why do they just say things without explaining them in the Bible? Why do they just... "So this is how you have broken out." What does that mean? I've asked that so many times in this book. What does that mean? There's so many things that I don't understand or that don't make sense. And he was named Perez. Then his brother, who had the scarlet thread on his wrist, came out, and he was named Zerah. End of the chapter. That's the end of that story. I don't get why that was relevant. Okay, that's it. Until next time, I guess. Why did we even have this story about Jacob's brother? Is something gonna be tied to them later? Are they relevant to the future of this? How has this book lasted so long? How is it? You guys know this is, okay, maybe this is not true, but I was told this is the most sold book in history, the Bible, which would make sense. Everyone has a copy of this book. It's been printed more times than ever. It's regularly bought, multiple people have multiple copies. I bought one, not even a Christian, and I've got it. But that's it for chapter 38. Next one's 39, and we're going back to Joseph.